right, I thought I would talk a little bit about bases and air missions and things like that and how these work. So the map in Pacific War has a bunch of markers on it where it just says airfield or port. These alone, however, do not make a valid air base from which you can do missions from or move off of, etc. So, for example, Port Moresby here, in order for this to count as an air base or a port, well, if you were to build a base on this hex, it counts as both a port and an air base, but this does not count as that until we put a base on it, right? And if you see my other video, that's a large base and this is a small base. Then it becomes a valid airfield that can actually launch air missions. Now you can build these actually on a ground hex on the map if you want to, but it does take a longer time and requires an engineer fighting CBs, for example, something like that, to build the base. So for this example, we're just going to say one there's built here, and we're going to put one up here in, let me map this out here. We're going to put one up here in Australia. Now this is a completely hypothetical, so don't check your history books to see if this happened or anything. We're going to put one right up here on Thursday Island, the Torres Strait. We're going to put another base right up there, and we're just going to have a plane do an air mission where it's going to bomb a Japanese unit and land here. Now, the important thing to remember, if you remember the counter things yesterday, actually, we're going to make this a small base. All right. Now, next we need to go over the things on this counter. Now, we did this in the other video yesterday, but I'll just cover it again real quick. Okay. This is the troop quality here. And we have the anti-air strength in the middle, and the launch capacity is the lower right here. And this is now functioning as both a base and a seaport. All right, this one would just be an air base because there's not a port listed there. All right. All right, so now in this hex, I'm going to put down a fighter, level 1 status, range of 8 hexes. And if you remember the status levels, that pretty much covers the experience or the troop quality of the aircraft. With 0 being the worst, 1 being the middle, and 2 the best, excuse me. And its anti-air strength is in the lower left here, so it's a pretty good dogfighter. And then we have the anti-naval and the anti-ground. And then when you are on the non-activated side, you just have your basic stats listed there, like that. So we're going to say he's activated. We're just going to cover some very basic stuff in this video, so don't get too excited about seeing battle cycles and things like that. I just wanted to clear these concepts up for myself too. Remember that movement on these is not flying out 8 and coming back, right? That's their total hexes of movement. So you're not going to be able to fly out 8 and come back 8. It's going to be, you need to go out 4 and then safely land again without going over your total movement allowance. If you do, the plane crashes into the sea and runs out of fuel. So I'm going to make it so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to keep this nice and tight. We're just going to bomb a unit that I'm going to place here. Okay, in this hex we have put a rather terrible Japanese division here, the 133rd. Not a very good one. So if you'll remember, their troop quality here is on the left. Their anti-air strength is a 1, and they have only 8 steps. So we have a fighter here, single engine fighter, range of 8. He's going to bomb this Japanese division. There's 4 different types of air missions you can do. Then he's going to land up here at this small base. We're going to do we're going to target this hex. So I'm just going to put it on there. Okay, so before we do all this though, let's go even deeper into the rules. And I'm not going to really cover turn phases or things like that here, but there is a chance that, let's remove this and back up a little bit. And there is a chance that you might see something like this. Let's take this counter out, because before we were just assuming that everyone was detected, but let's do this. Let's try this. This will be a first for me too. Let's take this counter out of here, okay? And we're just going to set him aside, and let's get a force marker. Oh, it is worth noting too that any air unit without a hit marker underneath it is assumed to be at the maximum number of steps. And each step is about, I believe it was, man, I can't remember. I think it was like 12 to 15 planes or something like that. So the maximum steps of a fresh unit is 6. So there's no hit markers under this plane. Now, you might see a scenario where it asks you to set up as something. It'll say the name of the unit with like a 5 in parentheses. That means it only has 5 steps. So you'll put, I think you put a hit marker under it. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't read the whole rule book yet, but I think that's the way it is. I'm just trying to grok these basic starting things. Okay, so you might notice that this is out now. So let's say that you're playing, and I don't really know how I'm going to do this. I know I can get an opponent to play the game with me, but to learn, I'm not sure how. I might just put force markers. I might play on one side and then put force markers on the board and put these out on the sheet that I'll show you here in a second, because I'm pretty sure that I cannot remember. There's no way I'll remember what's on the force display sheet. So I think maybe if I do blind that way, it might be interesting. Of course, I can then search, and that gives me a reason to search. But okay, let me show you this display here where this unit's going to go, and I'll show you how we discover this. Okay, so what you're going to have is a little something like this, where you have Japanese Force Display 1, and that matches the marker that's on the map there. So over here, you would put your infantry. I'm not going to get into unactivated, deactivated. We'll put him in here and say he's activated. We'll put him in here for now. So that is kind of how the Japanese player will see things. He'll have something in there, and the American player here wants to strike that hex, but he doesn't know really what's in there. So what do you do to figure that out? Now, from what I've gleaned from the rule book, I'll kind of try to go over a search. I didn't want this video to be about searching. I was just going to assume everyone was there. But now that I think about it, I do want people to know there is a deeper layer to this. Let's say previously during the movement phase, I decided to conduct a search, or you can also conduct a search during the air advantage air mission phase, I believe. And planes can search outside of the hexes they're in, but at a range of 3, it's pretty hard. So we're going to say it's daylight out too. And then if you go here, and it says any searching unit, and you're going to want to zoom this out here. Let me just get this out like that. And you can see it's an FTB or air unit, and you're going to roll a die during the day. And I would technically need to roll a 0 to get all the information I want. So if you roll in the green, you come over here, and the target player has to report the type and number of ground units and air steps and naval types in a hex. That's a full discovery. A blue is he just reports the number of ground and air steps and naval types. And orange, you just report whether or not there are ground, air, or naval units in the hex. So we're going to say before there was a search conducted. Now, I'm not sure if this really matters on air missions, but let's take a look at the modifiers. For each enemy force and individual ground unit, over 1 in the hex, you'll get a -1 to your roll. So there are some bonuses for having, if the target you're searching has a bunch of stuff in the hex, you're going to get a bonus for that. Lower is better, higher is worse. Then you have your squall or rain hex. It's plus 2. These are all naval stuff here. And then there's these rules for optional rules. It becomes harder to find it becomes easier to find from all allied search die rolls beginning in January 43 until the end of the game, they get -2. I believe that's because of the capabilities of radar, maybe, or something like that. And then the Japanese get -1, 1944 until the end of the game. One thing I couldn't find in the rules is, can you do an airstrike against a force marker? I believe you can, but just reading over this, I couldn't specifically see that. There's lots of points in this game where they say, in order to attack anything, you have to search and find them. So I'm not 100% sure about that. But we're going to do this and say, I just wanted to show you a search thing real quick. We're going to say that, hey, last turn this guy was a successful search and he had to give up all his info, and then he was just, hey, I'll just have to put that out there. You don't have to play with these markers. And if you become detected, you can flip it over. You don't have to play with the markers, but I just wanted to kind of show you how that search thing worked. There's going to be rules on when you can search and what affects that or all that stuff. But right now we're just going to focus on this airstrike. All right, and feel free to correct me in the comments. There's a lot in this book. So basically the air procedure is pretty simple. They're going to come in undetected, and then he's going to get a chance to detect this flight. And you pretty much just move contiguous hexes up to your target. And you remember, you only have that 8 range. So 1, 2, 3, and then you got 5 left. You're going to have to get back to a base. Okay, so we place a target marker in the hex. We place all participating air units on the base, and you must determine if this is coordinated. Okay, I made this really simple for everyone. This is coordinated, and I'll tell you why. You'll want to look on the core rules, page 46, 28.3.3. All air supremacy missions and all airstrike missions consisting of only 1 air unit are automatically coordinated. So I made that easy for everyone. So automatically coordinated, you move from hex to hex to your target. And if it's beyond your range, you're automatically eliminated. I'm not sure why anyone would do that, but just a heads up. Now, anytime an undetected mission air unit enters a hex containing an enemy ground unit, the enemy player can attempt to detect this air unit, and that will affect the flow chart. Okay? At the instant the mission is detected, the entire mission is considered detected. For all purposes, an air unit or stack can be searched for only once each time it enters an enemy-occupied hex. All right, so now he's going to try to detect the air mission. All right, so the Japanese unit is going to be doing, this is the Japanese chart, by the way. They are different, so make sure you grab the Japanese chart. Same hex, searching for air. We're going to roll a die. I'm going to fake this. And 5 is detected. All right, so basically a 0 through 5 is going to detect this unit. So I wonder, do we want to cheat here and make it say he rolls really bad and he doesn't get detected? Yeah. Let's say that the American the strike force is not detected. This guy, he rolls really bad, and you can see right there, any result of a color makes the air units detected. Units are already known, obviously. Let's say he does not get this. All right, and I'll show you how that affects the flow chart. Again, this is just what I've read in the book. I'm just trying to understand this, so if it's wrong, let me know. Now, I know there's only certain phases and cycles and things at time of the game when you can do this, but we'll see what happens. All right. Now, it does say in here, when you get to the strike procedure, because you have to, there's steps that you have to do for the procedure. You go through all this search stuff, and, we avoided all that. Real quick, I want to show you, though, how that detection thing mattered. So look very closely at this table. So you're going to want to follow this flow chart when you do an air mission. I want you to just kind of follow along with me here and see what happens. Move mission air units. Is the air mission detected in a hex before the target hex? No, it was not. Is the air mission detected in or prior? No, it was not. Designate the strike target. Okay, it's going to be that unit. Strike strafe procedure. Now, or paradrop. Take a close look at this. I do my procedure here, then flak. Now, if he were detected, check this out. It opens up cap procedure, okay? Flak procedure. Did I abort? No. Then I can do my strike. So you can see there's a difference here where if you're detected or not, certain things trigger in a different order on this side. So just be wary of that. So that's why I just took the easier side. I'm going to say I wasn't detected. I get to pull off my strike. They're alerted to me. They're going to shoot flak into the air. We'll see what happens. All right, so since I wasn't detected, I get to go ahead and ignore that flak roll thing, remember. So now we're going to be using air to ground on the fighter, and we're going to make a roll against this Japanese division here. Okay, remember anti-ground is here in the lower right corner. That is a 4. So we're going to be making that roll. Okay, I'm going to back the camera out a little bit here because this table is crazy. All right, let's back this out a little bit. I'm going to bring this up. Mr. Cat, Mr. Socks is back here, the cat. Okay, so Now, he does have a 4, and you're going to take the modified strength along the top here, but the thing you want to cross-index with is down here, strike combat. It's not a fighter, it's not air versus naval, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's air versus ground unit. So then we're going to be rolling, and wow, this table's crazy. And we're going to be indexing this across the modified strength here. All right, bear with me here. And the chart will tell you how to do this, okay? Until you reach the number roll. Follow the color band in which the die roll appears as it slants, and continue to follow it straight down to the chart you need. The results are, okay, number of hits inflicted, a T for troop quality check. You'll have to check the rules for that. A 0 and a star is a critical hit, which, that's kind of cool. A 0 with a 4, a unit with a strength less than 0 must roll a 0 and then a 0 to 4 to score a hit. Okay. All right. That's, wow, that's rare. Okay. So, modified. All right. Let's check for modifications. Oh, golly. Look at these charts. All right. I'm going to check for modifications, and I'll come right back. One thing I have noticed, the higher you roll, it's no result. So I'm on the 4 here. I could not find any modifiers. So let's say I roll a 2. You're going to take this 4, go down to a 2. Then you're going to follow the green one down all the way like this, and you're going to go all the way down to what you're doing. And we're going to get a T. You roll a 5 through 9, you're going to go here and follow that down. It's a, that's crap. But the best I can get is a T at this strength. I couldn't find any modifiers for air to ground unit strike. Let me know if I missed those somewhere. But originally I rolled a 9, and I'm not going to do that. Let's just say we get a T result, which is really, that's the best we can do. You really got to have a nasty strength to get. I don't know if terrain does anything. I couldn't find anything about that either. Okay. So we're going to do a T, and a T is going to be a troop quality check. Now, if you remember your counters here for ground units, let me zoom back in. We have a troop quality, and this one was not very good. So the troop quality is in the lower left. It's a 1. All right, so let's check on that. Let's check on troop quality. Yeah, so you're going to have to roll a die for this, and he's going to need a 1 or less. Zeros do count as zeros. Close, but no cigar. So what happens when you fail a troop quality check? Let's find out. Okay, there are some things to check for the troop quality. Just keep in mind you want to check 31.4. Also, you want to make note that a ground unit can only take a troop quality check once per air mission. So anyway, what's going to happen here is when you fail, it is immediately broken. And that's going to have some consequences on some other things. If it's already broken, it has 2 or more steps in it, and fails to check, immediately loses a step and remains broken. So this unit, this Japanese unit, is going to become broken, and that's going to affect other things later on in the game. So I think, for the most part, that's how that's done. Now we have to survive that flak attack. All right, I didn't have my broken markers out. Sorry about that. He's going to become broken. Then we have a flak check. I want to make sure... We'll double check the flak rules and make sure that a broken unit can do flak and all that fun stuff. But you can see on that flow chart how that makes a big difference if you're undetected. And I basically got to pull my mission off no matter what. Then I suffer the flak. All right, so we are going to need the anti-air this unit. And if you remember, well, this unit is so bad. Okay, the anti-air is down here. It's a 1. Let's see what happens. And again, you have to use this naval. Everything's neatly put away here. So you're going to be using the flak combat. It's basically unimproved versus air, and it's a 1, so I need to roll a 0 or 1 to have an effect. And let's see what happens if I roll a 1 and follow the green down, and the flak would, yeah, we'll give them this, right? Should we just give them something lucky here? Let me make sure there's no modifiers. I don't think there are, I can tell. It would be a 1, and that is the number of hits inflicted. So just to show you that procedure. So let's say he inflicts a hit, and we'll put this underneath here. And that's going to do some things to the stats on the counter. It's not anything too major, though. Okay, so he does take a hit from the flak. We'll put that underneath there. And just to show you what that affects, you're going to want to look at air units, damage, and strength. Any combat air unit that has no hit markers, right, is assumed to have 6 steps. Each hit on an air unit represents the loss of a step. So actually, they shot down a lot of planes if you think about it. For each hit on an air unit, reduce each of the following in values by 1. So that counter is going to have some reduced abilities. Do not reduce the activation range or cost or range. If a mission air unit that takes 2 or more hits is forced to abort, but like I showed you, I was detected, it would not have mattered. So that flowchart makes a huge difference if you're detected. These are just the little subtleties built into the game. And then he'll go back. He has to return to his base here. Okay, that is the most basic strafe or airstrike on a ground unit that I can show you. And I apologize if it was super basic, but this is how I learn. So I'm gonna let you watch and see what I messed up and kind of go over it from there. But anyway, that's how that works. It just gives you a general sense of how much bang for the buck you got to drop on a hex if you're gonna airstrike a ground unit. And again, my results were completely made up, so I doubt I would have rolled that well in real life. So, okay, I'm gonna splice all this together and get this up for you, and then just kind of let me know what I messed up or whatnot. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll have more Pacific War coming probably in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna go real slow on this game. I'm gonna be doing some Eastern Front stuff before I swing back to Pacific War and some frigate combat. I'll be doing Captain C, maybe flying colors. So I'm going to be all over the place. All right, thanks for watching.